Vice President Sara Duterte says President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s State of the Nation address is, quote, a waste of time. Meralco says some system loss is unavoidable when delivering electricity. President Marcos says the Philippines will launch its first sounding rocket in Cagayan in 2027. President Marcos says he hopes support for Alex Eala encourages more Filipinos to get into sports. And a magnitude 7.1 earthquake hits Japan's southern Kumamoto prefecture. Vice President Sara Duterte says she didn't watch President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s State of the Nation address.
Hindi ako nanood ng SONA like last year. And wala akong planong basahin ang nilalaman ng SONA o kahit man lang summary dahil I truly believe it is a waste of time of the Filipino people.
Duterte also says she had asked Marcos for two things when she agreed to be his running mate in 2022, but they were not fulfilled. She did not say what these were, but weeks before the official start of the 2022 campaign, Marcos said that Duterte wanted to be defense chief. She then pointed to two Marcos pronouncements, a campaign promise for 20 pesos per kilo of rice and personalities in flood control corruption jailed before Christmas of 2025.
Tinupad ba? Wala. So bakit pa kayo naniniwala at nanonood ng SONA?
Meantime, Marcos did not mention anything about Duterte's impeachment trial during his SONA. This drew mixed reactions from the prosecution team.
We expected that it would be mentioned. So yes, we're disappointed na hindi siya nabanggit.
We were expecting na hindi yun mababanggit para ipakita niya na hands-off siya sa impeachment. So sana meron siya at least man lang ganon, kahit isang sentence lang or two sentences.
Manila Electric Company or Meralco says some system loss is unavoidable when delivering electricity. This in response to President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s call for the removal of the charge from consumers' power bills during the President's fifth State of the Nation address. Meralco says it respects the President's policy direction but stresses that a certain level of technical loss is inherent in operating an electric distribution system. System loss refers to the difference between the electricity entering a distribution network and the amount eventually recorded and billed to customers. Overall, system loss charges account for about 5% of an average Meralco electricity bill.
Hindi naman kasalanan ng consumer kung bakit nagkaroon ng systems loss. Kaya hindi naman tama na kailangan sila pa ang pagbabayarin dito.
He called on lawmakers to immediately amend the Electric Power Industry Reform Act, or EPIRA, to prohibit passing system loss charges and the corresponding value-added tax on to consumers. Meralco says reforms to the EPIRA should protect consumers without weakening the ability of distribution utilities and electric cooperatives. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. announces during his 2026 State of the Nation address, the Philippines will launch its first sounding rocket in Cagayan in 2027. This paves the way for future space launch activities and the spaceport in Cagayan.
A sounding rocket launch test is slated for next year. Yes, we are going to launch a rocket into space. This we will do in partnership with a South Korean aerospace company.
Marcos describes Cagayan as both geographically and economically primed to serve as our gateway to space and host the country's first spaceport. The Philippine Space Agency says the 2027 launch will be a demonstration flight of a liquid-fueled rocket that carries a 2-kilogram payload and is set to reach an altitude of at least 5 kilometers. It adds, the test launch in Cagayan in 2027 will help advance the Philippines' launch capabilities, develop Filipino expertise in rocket technologies, and prepare for future space launch activities. In 2023, the country launched the Tala rocket. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. mentions Alex Eala in his State of the Nation address Monday, July 27.
Sa nag-uumapaw nating suporta kay Alex Eala, sana ay marami ang maingganyo para matuto at maglaro hindi lamang ng tennis, kundi ng ibang sport pa.
Marcos conferred the presidential citation on 21-year-old Eala in a special homecoming reception at Malacanang last July 13. In his SONA, Marcos also points to the success of the Filipinas women's football team, who will see action in the FIFA Women's World Cup for the second straight edition in 2027.
Sa halimbawa ng Pilipinas women's football team, sana rin ay mas sumikat pa ang football sa ating bansa at maraming maglaro. Balang araw, baka makasali na ang Pilipinas sa World Cup.
A magnitude 7.1 earthquake struck Japan's southern Kumamoto prefecture on Tuesday, July 28. This knocks out power from thousands of homes, snarling travel, and triggering evacuation orders and warnings for aftershocks. Public broadcaster NHK shows several buildings on fire or collapsed, large cracks along roads, including an elevated highway, and a derailed goods train. More than 150,000 people are also instructed to go to evacuation centers. Japanese Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi says the extent of casualties and property damage is being assessed. The Japanese government issues emergency earthquake warnings for Kumamoto, Nagasaki, Kagoshima, Fukuoka, Saga, Oita, and Miyazaki prefectures. And that's today's wrap. I'm JC Gotinga. Thank you for watching. Click the link below for the full story. For more updates, download the wRap.